Even though it was well over 100 degrees, Yosemite was one of the parks that we've been looking forward to from the beginning of this trip. So we weren't going to miss it, even though we were a little concerned that we would. We found out just 4 or 5 days before that Yosemite was requiring passes to get in. And the only way to get a pass was to be online at 7 a.m. 2 days before you wanted to go in, and that's when they would release whatever was left, the passes that hadn't been claimed before that. And the warning said, they go quickly, be ready, and that was a fact. There were about 400 passes available when we logged in, and they were gone in less than a minute, and we were fortunate enough to get one. We're not going to talk a lot over this video because the scenery at Yosemite speaks for itself, and we're just going to let you enjoy from this point. The hike to Sentinel Peak started at Glacier Point. It was a relatively short hike, less than 2 miles round trip, but fairly strenuous. It was a 600-foot or so elevation change each direction. With a lot of it being at the very end when you climbed up to that dome. But it really presented a lot of scenery that you could see from up high, as you can see in these pictures. Olmsted Point is an overlook on Tioga Road that gives you a view of the back of Half Dome. And they say, with a good pair of binoculars, that you can see people on the trail hiking up the back of Half Dome. We couldn't. I mentioned earlier the difficulty of getting a pass to get into Yosemite, but the upside to that was that there were no crowds. There was no traffic. There was never a problem getting a parking place. It didn't matter what we wanted to see, where we wanted to go. There was always a place to park. This is the trail to Gaylor Lakes off Tioga Road, right at the entrance gate. And it's uphill. Here's the trail. think I got off the trail just a little bit there. This is better. I promised a lake, but I haven't seen it yet. This is the dam at Hetch Hetchy that creates the reservoir. All this water is going to San Francisco. Except for that water down there. It's not going to San Francisco. This reservoir was built after the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco to supply water to that city. It sends over 260 million gallons of water a day to San Francisco, totally by gravity, no pumps involved at all. The fact that that's a 200-mile journey makes that a remarkable feat of engineering. So one of the things that you should notice here at Hetch Hetchy is all the people. Oh, wait, there aren't any. This area of Yosemite gets about 200 visitors a day as compared to many areas of the park that get about 200 visitors an hour. And it's so beautiful and quiet. You get away from, I have no idea what that is down there. That water is shooting out of obviously a hole in the rock. Maybe we'll see some more of that in a minute, but you get away from that, it is just deathly silent in this valley. It is just amazing. And on the north side of the dam, there is a tunnel. We don't know where it goes, but we're going to find out. Probably be cooler in the tunnel than it is out here in the sun. Yep, it's cooler. Well, and as we come to the end of the tunnel, my guess is we'll have another view of the reservoir. This is the beginning of a trail that will take you up to a 1,000-foot waterfall. But I do believe that that waterfall is dry right now.
This was our hike to Mirror Lake, which, by the way, it was very hot that day, over 100, and the lake was dry. Real disappointment, but it was a pretty area.
Went into the park Saturday morning with the intention of hiking up to Vernal and Nevada Falls. It's a pretty long and strenuous hike. It was really getting hot, so I had decided that I would only go as far as I was comfortable going, and then I'd just turn around and come back. Well, as it turns out, because of COVID, they have made that trail one way after 9 o'clock in the morning. So I only made it to the footbridge, and then I called it a day because I wasn't ready to commit to the whole thing.
And so ends our adventures at Yosemite.